the former president's campaign says he is already making money off of this, around $8 million in contributions. Joining us now to discuss all of this are CBS News chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes and CBS News legal analyst Rikki Klieman. Good morning to both of you. Rikki, I want to ask you, we've been hearing about this indictment, but today we will actually see it. It will be in our hot little hands. When you get it, what will you look for inside of it to say, okay, this is a strong case, this is a weak case, to give you a sense of what the actual case is?
Well, just like at Christmas when you really want to open the big present first, what I will look at is what are each charge. So I want to go to the bottom of each charge and find out what they are. Then I'm going to go back, and I assume it's a speaking indictment, which means that it is written as a narrative. And in that case, we're going to know exactly what the facts are that support the charge. If it's not a speaking indictment, well, then we still have a little guesswork.
Because it'll be more complicated and technical.
Correct.
Let me ask you about the judge, Rikki. President Trump has already been trying to soften up the refs, saying this judge hates him. What do we know about the judge, and is it possible that they could move to have another judge moved in, and is that part of the theater, or is this actually a smart legal strategy?
Well, he may really feel that the judge, quote unquote, hates him because the judge was the one who presided over the trial of Alan Weisselberg and the Trump Organization. His rulings, I would say, were firm but fair. I'm sure that Donald Trump would say his rulings were not fair. But the one thing he did say at the time of sentencing Weisselberg was that he wished he could give him a tougher sentence. So it does give the defense team some room to argue. But his reputation is stellar. He's been on the bench for 16 years. People say he keeps good order in the courtroom. And so that's what we want, someone who knows rules of evidence and procedure. Joe Tacopina was smart. As Trump's attorney, he said on air, I have no idea how I feel about him. I've never appeared before him. Let me watch him.
They did add another attorney to the case, though, Todd Blanche. What can you tell us about him?
Todd Blanche is a white-collar lawyer. He is someone who was a former assistant U.S. attorney in New York. He was with a major, what we call silk stocking law firm called Cadwalader, one of the most prestigious in the country. He resigned because he said that this was an opportunity he could not pass up. He's formidable. I think that it will change the tenor of what we have seen recently about this case.
Nancy, as John mentioned, the Trump campaign, they're reporting that they're getting these donations for this indictment to the tune of around $8 million. What do you make of this? And is this money accessible to him?
Get yourself indicted and raise a lot of money. Yeah. That's how his lawyer, Joe Tacopina, put it yesterday. We saw the former president fundraising from his motorcade as he was heading from the airport yesterday to Trump Tower. The big question is, are these donations coming from new supporters who want to help him out, or are these people who would have given him money at some point in the campaign anyway? They're just rallying to his defense right now. I think it's too early to say whether all of this attention is going to help him or hurt him in the fundraising game in the long run. It all depends on so many factors. Is there a trial? What happens in that trial? Does he get charged with other crimes down the road? There's so many unknowns right now.
What are you hearing, though, behind the scenes from Republicans and some of those who may be even potentially running against him?
Well, it's a really tough needle to thread. If you are a Republican who wants to run against him, who wants to eventually siphon off some of his sizable base, I'm thinking of a Mike Pence or a Nikki Haley, you really can't go right at him and criticize him because then you risk alienating those supporters. So you've got to kind of go this third route where you don't support him, but maybe you attack the legal system or the DA and say that it's, you know, it's unfair.
A little political
rigged.
posturing, if you will.
Exactly. But if you are a Republican like Chris Christie or Asa Hutchinson, who wants to sort of position yourself as the anti-Trump, if you will, then you've got a little more room. And they have taken that room to say, look, this is a guy who's already in legal trouble. He may be in a lot more legal trouble over the next year and a half. Is this really who we want as our standard bearer?
They talk about lanes in politics. How big is that lane? Is it a big 4-lane highway, or is it a tiny little bike lane, the anti-Trump lane among the presidential candidates?
The anti-Trump lane, if you look at the polls, is at most half the party. And even then, you know, it's tricky. And so, you know, you've seen people like Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, kind of tiptoe into that lane and then go, ooh, actually, this is a narrow lane. I don't think I want to be in this lane. And then retreat. And I think that is going to be a challenge that you see Republicans facing over and over again in this race.
Now, Rikki, we know that this could go according to plan today, or it could turn out to be a circus. But what are you looking forward to the next few days?
Well, I think that today really will go according to plan. You have a good judge. You have lawyers who are not going to aggravate that judge. He will get processed at the courthouse quietly. There may or may not be a mugshot. I hear there will not be a mugshot. We all know who he is.
Yeah.
But it's also possible, using Nancy's points, that they may want to raise funds off of that mugshot, and that would be unseemly. Mugshots are not usually public in New York. What I do think over the next couple of days that we're going to see, we're going to have a press conference by Alvin Bragg later this afternoon. We'll get a much fuller picture from the prosecution. Donald Trump is going to Mar-a-Lago. He will have his press conference tonight. From there, all things shall flow.
Yes. Well, Rikki, I know you're going to be with us later for our specials coverage. Thank you so much. And Nancy Cordes, thank you as always.